everyone. Thank you for coming back to the channel. I appreciate you every day. I do not take you for granted. Please subscribe if you have not done so yet. Thank you so much. Rising abruptly from the heart of Catalonia, Montserrat is a place where nature and belief converge. Its jagged peaks, shaped long before human memory, form a landscape so powerful it has inspired centuries of pilgrimage, prayer, and construction. Montserrat appears less built than discovered. Its jagged limestone peaks, shaped over millions of years by wind and water, form a natural architecture so powerful that human construction seems almost secondary. And yet, for nearly 1,000 years, people have built here, not to dominate the mountain, but to belong to it. The architecture of Montserrat is inseparable from this landscape. Every wall, stair, and cloister responds to the mountain's contours, negotiating steep slopes and narrow ledges. Rather than imposing a singular vision, the site unfolds as a layered palimpsest, centuries of belief, destruction, and renewal written into stone. At the heart of Montserrat stands the Benedictine monastery of Santa Maria, founded in the 11th century. Its earliest structures followed the Romanesque language of the time: thick masonry, rounded arches, and restrained ornamentation. These buildings spoke of endurance and enclosure, offering refuge in an environment as spiritually charged as it was physically demanding. Though much of this early fabric has been lost, its principles remain embedded in the monastery's plan and orientation. As Montserrat's influence grew during the Middle Ages, the architecture evolved. Gothic interventions introduced height and light, subtly lifting the monastic spaces upward. Later, Renaissance elements brought order and symmetry, reflecting a period when Montserrat became not only a religious center, but a cultural one. Each architectural layer did not replace the last. It accumulated, adapting to both the mountain and history. This continuity was violently interrupted in the early 19th century. During the Napoleonic Wars, the monastery was largely destroyed. What followed was not a reconstruction of the past, but a reimagining of it. The basilica that dominates the complex today, largely completed in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, adopts a neo-Romanesque style, an intentional return to origins, filtered through modern sensibilities. The basilica's exterior is restrained, almost austere, allowing the mountain to retain visual supremacy. Inside, however, the space unfolds with richness. Polychrome stone, gilded surfaces, and mosaic work guide the eye toward the altar. Architecture here becomes directional, shaping the pilgrim's movement and attention, drawing body and spirit forward together. Nowhere is this choreography more evident than in the Chapel of the Black Madonna, home to La Morenita, Montserrat's most venerated symbol. Narrow passages guide an unbroken stream of pilgrims toward the statue, creating an intimate encounter within a collective ritual. Precious materials, silver, marble, gold, frame the moment, not to display wealth, but to concentrate meaning. Beyond the sacred core, Montserrat's architecture extends into infrastructure. Funiculars, railways, museums, and hostels cling to the slopes, engineered with pragmatic restraint. Modern additions avoid spectacle, favoring neutrality so as not to compete with either monastery or mountain. Throughout the 20th century, Montserrat became a symbol of Catalan identity and resilience. Influences of Catalan modernism appear, not in flamboyance, but in symbolism and craftsmanship, reinforcing the site's cultural as well as spiritual significance. Montserrat is not a single architectural statement. It is a conversation across time, between nature and construction, solitude and pilgrimage, destruction and continuity. Have you ever felt that haunting sense of awe before a basilica that seems to float between clouds and mountains? The monastery of Montserrat rises as a living monument to faith and art, enduring for over 1,000 years. The Benedictine monks sought refuge as early as the 9th century. Every stone carries whispers of devotion, and every corner preserves artistic treasures that have survived the passage of centuries. The sanctuary of Montserrat holds far more art and architecture than one might ever expect. It invites us on a journey through time, where styles intertwine like threads in a 1,000-year tapestry. Romanesque and Gothic converse with Renaissance and modernism, weaving a visual symphony that culminates in the majestic Basilica of Montserrat. The 12th century Romanesque carving has, for centuries, drawn pilgrims from across the world, standing as both a spiritual beacon and a cultural treasure. The monumental organ, with its 4,230 pipes, fills the centuries-old vaults with waves of sacred music, while the elegant neo-Romanesque cloister, designed by Josep Puig Cadafalch, pays homage to the medieval past. This is a place where every detail reveals the passion of generations that have cared for and enriched this exceptional heritage. The stones of Montserrat preserve more than 1,000 years of Catalan architectural history within them. Each era has left its own particular mark, creating a mixture where styles overlap and dialogue to explain the artistic evolution of a people who have found their spiritual refuge in this mountain. The story of Montserrat began in the early 11th century, when Abbot Alaba founded a small monastic community in 1025. The first Romanesque church, a simple single-nave structure documented as under construction by 1170, marked the beginning of an architectural journey that continues to this day. As pilgrims arrived in ever greater numbers, the sanctuary expanded to meet their needs. In 1327, 2 side naves and a raised choir were added, enlarging the sacred space. In 1476, Cardinal Giuliano della Rovere, who would later become Pope Julius II, commissioned the construction of the Gothic cloister. Designed by Barcelona masters Jaume Alfonso and Paris Basset, this cloister offered a place of retreat and reflected the new artistic currents sweeping across Europe. History was not always kind to Montserrat. The 19th century brought turmoil, especially during the French War of 1811 to 1812, when destruction threatened to erase centuries of heritage. Between 1872 and 1887, the Virgin's Chapel was reborn from the ashes through the work of Francisco de Paula Villar Lozano and his son, aided by the young Antoni Gaudí, whose first flashes of genius were already visible in these early contributions. The 20th century ushered in a new era under Abbot Antoni M. Montserrat. He entrusted architect Josep Puig Cadafalch with a series of interventions that shaped the monastery's modern character: the renovation of the library in 1917, the creation of the elegant neo-Romanesque cloister and refectory in 1925, and the step squares built between 1926 and 1930, masterfully adapted to the rugged contours of the mountain. The Civil War once again tested the resistance of these centuries-old stones. Once again, the monastic community demonstrated its capacity for resilience when Abbot Aureli M. Escar completed the reconstruction between 1941 and 1952. The new facade, designed by Francesc Folguera with rationalist lines, it was adorned with sculptural reliefs by Joan Ribal, where St. Benedict, St. George, and the proclamation of the dogma of the Assumption of Mary by Pius XII are immortalized in stone, thus closing a new chapter in the long architectural history of Montserrat. I am going to sum up by saying, perhaps the most extraordinary quality of Montserrat is its ability to remain alive, to keep writing its story day after day. The jagged rock formations that guard it seem to whisper that this place has become more than a religious symbol. It is the soul of a people who have discovered their deepest identity in these heights. Montserrat offers an experience that goes beyond knowledge. Here, in the silence of the peaks and the echo of Gregorian chant, we realize that some places possess a rare grace, the power to transform those who visit them, leaving upon the heart an indelible imprint of both beauty and the sacred.